Hello, everyone. Thanks, Max, for the introduction. Indeed, quite important day for us here at Upworth. Before going into the live demos that hopefully you like, I wanted to thank everyone here on the live. Hopefully, will be a useful, exciting session during lunchtime, and you can have lunch at the same time, learn something, and discover a great tool. Maybe a few words around the genesis of this tool. When we started Upworth a few months ago, we are very focused on net worth. And our thinking was, oh, look, there are so many budgeting tools out there. There are many ways you can track your expenses, your cash flows. And we realized that we were wrong. Effectively, talking with you guys, a lot of you, and thank you for your time again in giving us feedback. What we heard was, yes, there are many solutions, but first, many of them are not necessarily that good. We are all used to having 30% of our expenses in the unknown category, which makes things a little bit tricky. What we heard as well is they're often provided by banks through their banking apps, and they consolidate only one bank, one institution at a time. You don't have a view of your entire cash flows. We also heard that at the end of the day was pretty limited in terms of what you could do with this information. You were presented with information. You could not necessarily analyze the data in a simple and visually compelling way. And so listening to all your feedback, we decided, look, we didn't plan this when we started Upworth, but we need to do it. And so we created this cash flow tracking module and budgeting module that I'm about to present to everyone, and which goes live right now, meaning you can access it in our Upworth platform for free. Let me share my screen, and let's go into the live demo. Give me a few seconds. Fantastic. Max, if you can just tell me if the screen has come up.
It is there, ready to rock.
Fantastic. So let's get started. And look, we're probably going to go for about 15 minutes. We are here on the classic Upworth main dashboard, your home, if you're familiar with our platform, and inside a mock demo profile. You will have noted here, if you went down our product, that usually you access here the emergency fund. It is still there, but the novelty is the access to our cash flow module. So right here, you have the ability to see all of your cash flows in real time. Now, let me walk through this interface and what you can do with this. Let's maybe start from the top. You can see here like 3 filters. So we give you first the ability to choose the months that you're seeing your expenses from. In the version that you will access, you'll be able to see the last 3 months. Here I can see more of the history, in fact, like 1 year, which will be coming soon. You can determine which bank accounts you want to see. That's a great feature that I just talked about that Upworth gives you. You are able to consolidate all of your bank accounts across all Australian banks. The moment you connect the bank account, we're able to retrieve and categorize your expenses to present them to you in a compelling and visual manner. So literally, you can decide to look at everything at the same time, or you can actually decide to just look at one bank account. And it's pretty modular. You can play with any combination of your bank accounts. You can decide to choose a category. We have 18 categories that we categorize for you, and 78 subcategories, and we will go more into the details of subcategories that go beyond each of the category. You can see here then that you have 3 time frames. You can look at a 1 month view. When it's the current month, as we are in August 2024 now, you will see the months to date. So today we are the 27th of August. So you're going to see from the 1st up to the 27th. So that gives you a good sense of how you are doing during the current months, also against your objectives. We will get to the objective part. You can see the last 3 months. In that case, we give you an aggregation of your last 3 months. So when it's the current months, it's any of the past 2 months plus the months to date. And the 1 year view is one that we will release, as I said, a little bit later. Having a look at those categories, we can then move on actually to the details. What we want to give you here is an ability to track what's coming in. So the money coming in here by category. Sometimes you have refunds, for instance, and what's coming out. So here you can basically visualize the 18 categories we're talking about, sometimes with a 0 expense. You see your net position, which is basically the sum of both sides. And you see your target and what's left versus the target you have defined at the category level. Now, one thing I want to maybe stop on for a little while is this category you see here called internal transfers. So a huge issue of many of the solutions that we have used ourselves and what you have told us is many times banking applications do not pick up internal transfers. They are not able to tell you that in fact it's not an expense, it's simply you moving money from one side to the other. And it clouds the view because all of a sudden you are with an expense that is not a true expense. One of the novelties we're bringing in here is based on the accounts you connect in the Upworth system, we are able to identify what is an internal transfer across all banks. Let's say you have a bank account with Macquarie and you have another one with Westpac. You use Macquarie because that's where your savings account is. Westpac is your day-to-day account. Well, if you transfer money from your Westpac or to Macquarie account or the other way around, we spot that. And we automatically categorize this amount as an internal transfer. And we take it out of your expense base to give you a clean expense base. Now, this only works when you connect accounts. Obviously, we cannot know what we don't know. So if you don't tell us that you have a bank account at Macquarie and you don't connect that account in our system, we are not able to pick up the internal transfer. A cool feature here is this button, See All Transactions. So I'll get more into each of the categories, how you can interact with categories, set goals, and track them. But what I want to show to you is you can also access the details of all your transactions. We wanted to keep that granular level to really give you the ability to deep dive. Again, you'll find here the classic filters that I was showing. So the categories, the accounts, so everything can be filtered according to those, the timestamps. But more interestingly, what I want to show to you here is you can choose to filter for income only or expense only. And more importantly, you can choose to filter from your smallest to largest or from your largest to smallest expense. Why does it matter? Well, effectively, if you're embarking on an exercise of trying to understand what are my biggest single items on a 3 months period, in a 1 month period, and soon maybe for the full year, it's extremely helpful because all of a sudden you're going to be able to put all your accounts, line up all your transactions, and look item by item and understand really where you spend big bucks and whether it was relevant and whether you like to change that in the future. So if we do this, let's say we look at this for this account, right? And we say, okay, I like to see from largest to smallest, right? You're going to see here a variety of amounts. One is 2,000, one is 600, 350. So we categorize them by absolute value because right now you haven't selected whether you wanted income or expense. If you say just your expense, then you're going to see the negative amounts that went out of this account for the past months. And all of a sudden, you're able to choose them, and you're able to basically categorize them. And you can hide the filters to have more visibility. What I'd like to go into now is the details of each of the categories. Let's say we want to look at food, for instance. You can double-click on any areas of the graph. As you saw, I just clicked basically on this food category. And here you're going to be presented with this standard view. In this standard view, we give you a few things. First, we give you a sense for the select months. Again, you can play with this one, of what is your net position, what are your total expenses, and how does that compare versus the monthly target if you have set one. Here it was set at 1,500 for the month. Fortunately, the target has already been exceeded. What differentiates the net position from the total expenses? The total expenses are what you have actually spent. The net position is the net result when taking into account refunds. These two amounts right now are the same ones, but there are situations where you'll be spending and maybe you'll get a refund and they will vary slightly. We want to give you a sense of both. If we keep looking at what is in there, you can basically look at any of these transactions, again, playing with months, playing with accounts, playing with time filters, and you can double click, right? You can have a look here. Okay, so there was a coffee shop amount, the date, the exact description. A cool feature as well is the ability to look at the subcategories. So we want to help you here to visually understand, okay, inside food, where do most of my expenses come from? The supermarket side, other food, tobacco and alcohol, restaurants, coffee shop. If you click on any of those areas, it will automatically display the subcategories, track your net position and total expense, and again, give you the ability to review all of those expenses. Here you can see some Harris Farm, for instance, a category, or Woolies, which indeed are supermarkets. Now, here, I think cool thing I want to show to you is this monthly target. We basically developed a pretty cool budgeting module where what we realized is tracking is useful at the aggregate level, but it's very unactionable to set a budget where you say, hey, I want to spend 8,000. Then how do you go about this, right? You're going to say, okay, that's 8,000, but where does the expense come from? How does it break down? And what is your target by category? The subcategory is a bit more complex because no one wants to set up a budget with 78 data points. So we left that one aside. But the category one with 18 felt like the right one, to set once and for all. What we give you here is this ability to track over time. So you can see your target. You can change your target every month. So historically here, the target was 1K. And you're able to see the attainment, right? Unfortunately, that user has never met his target, pretty much except for the month of June. He has always been overspending. So we reviewed his target upwards, right? And decided, look, maybe let's be a little bit more, conservative and a little bit more realistic. We give you basically the view of attainment. So here, if we were under targets, this gauge will be partly filled to the tune of the proportion of the targets that you have spent. As I said, you can change the target. When you decide to change the target, cool analytics work we do is we give you a view of your average monthly spend for the past 3 months for the category where you're setting a budget. It's incredibly helpful because something we realize when talking to many of you is, I have no clue how much I've been spending, monthly on average for the past months. So we give you that guidance. In no way it's a recommendation. It's simply a guidance. It's for you to decide what is your target budget for each category. Let's say here I want to change it. Let's say, I want to revise it upwards, as we saw, a little bit tricky for me. So I go 1,700, right? Immediately, you can see it's reflected. And immediately, you can see we are almost basically at the target. And we have a little bit of target left. Now, let me maybe proceed to that part, which really can come in handy. Here we give you some sense of, all right, for the month of August, again, could be any month that you decide to select. You have had 26 transactions in the food category, and that has represented 38% of your outflow. So a lot of your expenses have come from this category. We give you the same view for the last 12 months. What is the average monthly outflow? Which percentage does it represent of your expenses? For now, it's computed on the last 3 months. It says last 12 months. As I said, for now, we're accessing your last 3 months. Two things I'd like to basically focus on are those two things here. It's one thing to set a budget. One thing we realized was missing many times was the more behavioral aspect to help every one of us to manage this budget and attain it effectively. And we realized that it comes to metrication and consistency. So we want to give you a sense of what is the percentage of target attainment on average. What is your percentage of attainment here? Yeah, well, on average, it's pretty much 0, right? You're never attaining the target. And we want to give you a sense of what we call the best on-goal series. Bit inspired by baseball here or sports game. What is the idea of that one? That one tells you what is the highest number of successive months during which you attain your target. So basically here, there's no successive month when target was attained. If you attain your targets 3 months in a row, it will tell you 3. Why is it handy? Because it's easy to put goals, but it's actually hard to stick up with these goals. And so this feedback loop cannot be cheated. In fact, the system doesn't allow you to change a target in the past. You can only change a target during the current months, so that we basically hold you accountable and true to yourself. And we will tell you, all right, you've only done it for 2 months in a row or 1 month in a row. Change the goal, review your plan, try to be more disciplined. Then again, we don't give recommendations. It's for you to work on this. But we give you the analytics to be able to change. If I return on the main view, what I wanted to show to you is a little bit how you can have some fast access to our goals and targets. And sorry, it's a bit slow today because of the live at the same time. So what you can see here is the targets that have been set. For instance, here I reset my target at 1,700. So I'm 140 above target for the month, right? Because I've spent to date 1,840. But the targets can be set directly here. You don't need to go into the view of each of the categories. You can literally click on those, update them, or set them. You can say, cool, that one, look, I want to set it up for 1,400. Let's do it. Fantastic, 1,400. And what's going to happen is our system is going to basically look at each of these targets individually, sum them up to the overall target, and let you track both the aggregate, how much you have left in the current months, Or again, that could be actually looked at on a 3-month period. You had that much left for the 3-month period. And it's going to tell you at each of the literally individual level. It's helpful because it gives you a view of your attainment at the aggregate level, and it gives you the ability to work at the separate levels, understanding where does my deviation come from. Well, food is a problem. Health and family looks fine. Maybe you know that you're going to pay your insurance late in the month, so you know it's going to surge, right? But all of a sudden, you're able to understand where value is flowing from, right? To build an effective budget. Where do you need to focus your attention? Where are the big changes coming from? And again, remember, you can go back to the target tracking graph, where you will see over time if it's consistent and if it's indeed one category that mostly contributes to the deviation. With that in mind, the last one, which is a bit of a fun one, is we give you the ability to share your graph. So literally, we auto-generate a screenshot, and you can share it with your partner, your friends if you want to, anyone of your liking, to basically start discussing. You can be like, look, I did the budget, like this is how it flows, how it looks like, and I'd like you to have a look, let's discuss, right? So we try to make it a bit more interactive.